Hello guys, welcome back. And today we are reading Requiem for a Loud, Chapter 13, Unplugged. Now, I don't really want to be too long with the introduction because, well, fuck, this fanfic, whatever it's called, is extremely long, so I kind of just want to get straight to the point. But yeah, we are like 39% of the way done. But yeah, I also just want to say a quick thank you again. Probably the last time for a while, but yeah, thank you so much for, all the subs. But yeah, I'm gonna skip some of the paragraphs if I feel they're unnecessary. So yeah. It was about 5 in the afternoon when Lynn and Lincoln were walking back home. They had spent the whole day together, with nothing else bothering or interrupting them. She'd called their mother to tell her that she was with Lincoln, that they would be coming back home later, and that she then would accept whatever form of punishment they thought she deserved. Rita was not happy at all, at first, but she didn't need much incentive to allow them to spend an afternoon together. They had lunch. Lincoln took her to the arcades, and they finally went to another park, sat on a seesaw, and started to talk. They talked for hours. Lincoln couldn't have been happier. Lynn was giving him the most precious thing, something that Lincoln hadn't really worried about in the past. But now that he knew it was the best gift you could give to someone. Time, shared time, the chance to talk, to be heard, to listen what the other person has to say, to understand and know his sister better. He was deeply surprised what she started to talk and told him all her secrets. Everyone in the Loud House loved Lincoln, but he was still an 11-year-old boy, so there were many things his sisters weren't fond of sharing with him. But this time, when he simply asked Lynn to talk about herself, the girl put all the cards on the table. He was surprised to find out there was another Lynn besides the one he knew. It was a Lynn that would love to learn to cook but never found time to practice. A Lynn that had tried to polish her nails last week, but she didn't know how to do it. Now, I find this quite interesting because, Lynn's all into sports. Well, at least that's how she's presented anyway. Okay, if you hear banging, I don't know where it's from because it's not from my house. It's from my neighbour's house somewhere. I don't know. But yeah. Linda tried to polish her nails last week, but she didn't know how to do it, and was too embarrassed to ask anyone to teach her. Linda confessed she had a crush on a boy from her tennis class, but wouldn't dare to talk with him, because she didn't consider her neither pretty enough or developed enough. Textual words that were accompanied with a hand gesture in front of her chest. Lincoln always boasted about how he knew his 10 sisters better than anyone else in the world, but that little chat with Lynn made him realize that while he indeed knew them better than anyone, there were many layers about them that he wasn't aware of. Well, I know how to cook, Lincoln said, kicking the ground to lift him up after Lynn's monologue. While he was going up and she was going down, their eyes met each other's. He promised to teach her how to cook his special strawberry muffins, and he also told her that he knew how to polish nails, that he would be more than happy to explain everything about it to her. And as he was going up again, he told her not to worry about that subject. Textual words, he said as he looked elsewhere, and his fingers pointed at the general zone he was referring to. That she was beautiful and only an idiot wouldn't want to be with her. Well, that's a bit harsh. Some people have types, you know. He patiently waited 5 minutes in the air until Lynn was recovered and she could kick the ground on her side of the seesaw. Lincoln knew that all these things he was promising Lynn. Did someone fall then? Okay, hope that person's okay. Whatever. Whatever happened, I don't know. Wait, where were we up to again? But he was convinced that he would find the way to arrange his calendar so they could fit. That was precisely what he needed, what he wanted, the chance of spending some special bonding time with his sister. If he could also do things such as teach Lynn how to cook, do something that would change them, and could be part of his legacy, then much better. When she stopped smiling at her brother's words, she also started to ask him questions. Mainly, she was asking what he intended to do these days. She didn't need to say that they were going to be his last. She just said, these days. She didn't need to insist much until Lincoln told her some details about Operation Farewell. They had to leave the seesaw, for Lynn's legs were suddenly out of strength and she could no longer push herself up in the air. They sat on the bench and Lincoln tried to explain to her a little about what he was planning to do. He didn't tell her the motivation behind all of it. He simply told her that he had listed down some things that he wanted to do, and that many of them were related with his sisters. Lynn didn't say anything. She seemed to be holding back something, a comment or an opinion, but she kept it for herself. She just nodded and held Lincoln's hands. Wait, so is this chapter still focused on Lynn, or is it going to shift to another character? Some minutes later, after a last-minute visit back to the mall so Lincoln could buy a few things, both of them were walking down the Franklin Avenue, getting closer and closer to number 1216. Not giving a single care to the fact that the neighbours could see them, Lynn walked holding Lincoln's hand with her head on her brother's shoulders. They walked in silence, both of them lost in the moment and their thoughts, until Lynn stopped dead on her tracks. Lincoln stopped walking too and turned to see his sister. She was intensely staring at the tree, and he knew right away what was going through her mind. Behind that tree, he two of them, what does that mean, had changed again and again for a whole season, so Lynn could replace him in the football team. Oh, okay, I get it. It hadn't been much really, but those short minutes, while they were dressing up and changing the football uniform, had been their only very personal moments in which they had talked, they had laughed, and that they were surely going to remember for the rest of their lives. In Lincoln's case, that wasn't really much of a feat, but still. He let her stay there for some minutes, alone with her thoughts, until he finally spoke again. "We should get going," he said, gently caressing Lynn's hand. She sighed and slightly nodded. They started to walk again, and it was then, when their house roof became visible, that Lincoln remembered that he had to remind her of something. "Lynn, I had an awesome time with you today." She nodded, but she didn't show any kind of enthusiasm. She was probably understanding where he was going with those words. "I love being with you, and we still have a lot of things to do," he assured her. "But when we're back at the house, Lucy and the twins don't know it yet. We need to pretend everything's okay. We can't go in like this." And he said the last thing. He pointed at where they were holding hands. Lynn heavily sighed and realised her grip on Lincoln's hand. They were about to keep walking, but she couldn't resist the temptation any longer, and she hugged him with all the tenderness and delicacy as she could manage. While giving him a very long kiss on his cheek, he smiled and hugged her too. "Don't worry, I won't say anything. But can I bunk with you, just for tonight?" she asked him, not moving a centimetre away from him. "I don't know, Lynn. The girls could get suspicious." Loud cest perchance? Will they think that you're in a strange relationship? "They won't," she quickly said. "Let me take care of that, please, just one night." Lincoln didn't need to think it very much. She knew that Lynn wanted to spend more time with him, and he wanted to spend more time with her too. Besides, he remembered how he'd slept the night before with Luann. I'm sorry, sometimes reading things like he slept the night before with her or something like that, it just sounds weird out of context. I'm sorry, especially because it's the Loud House as well. You know, like it could easily get taken out of context. But anyway, he had felt in peace, protected, safe. He wanted to sleep like that again, without any worries in the world. The only inconvenience was that his room had a brand new calendar and his goal list. He told her about this, yes, but he still didn't want her to read it all, although he didn't really have anything else to hide there. "Alright," he finally said, and Lynn smiled like she'd just won a championship. But no Dutch ovens. The music was filling the garage. The glasses and the walls were vibrating at the rhythm of the sound of the recorded drums and bass. I don't think we need to read this part. Her true passion was rock. She loved rock, especially hard rock. But the last 3 times she had tried to play something from that particular genre, she had ended up playing Hole in My Soul by Aereo is Myth, November Rain by Rhymes, N Proses. We don't need to read this. But no matter how hard she tried to dissimulate what was happening to ignore what was going on, she couldn't do it. It was like a string that was only 1/2 tone out of tune. The chord was still identifiable. Many people could overlook it, but there was a slight vibration that was out of place, and a trained ear could detect it. Unfortunately for Luna, her ear was perfectly trained. She had an almost robotic hearing. She could be sitting at the 19th row in an open auditorium, listening for a 46 instruments symphonic orchestra, and she would still notice that the 3rd violin had its 2nd string slightly out of tune. Her ears were just that good in recognizing sounds and music, and that's why she knew exactly right away what was wrong with the way she was playing. That's probably in character for Luna as well. She was playing minor chords. She stopped playing midway in her last lick and checked her fingers. She could be playing a C chord. She was improvising, so it wasn't really an obligation, but the bass was making a melody in the key of C. Why, then, was her hand playing a C minor? Her muscle memory was so well trained that she didn't even need to think about the chords to play them. Her left hand reacted instinctively and played the right chord every time, but her subconscious was making her play minor chords instead of the major ones she was supposed to play. She didn't need to know that much theory, which she did know, by the way, to realise that it was because minor chords were mostly used to give a sad tone up to the songs. Luna sighed and stepped closer to a computer. Well, I don't know why it says computed though. She turned the funk bass off, and the garage was suddenly in silence. She sat it in a bench and sighed again. She started to think in the immense amount of mistakes she was lately making while playing with a guitar. Her mind was working again, and right away it found the way to make her feel miserable again. She thought about major chords, which made her think about happy songs. That made her remember all the good times she had while playing with the guitar, and for the first thing that came to her mind was being in a room, doing a private show there with Lincoln as the only member of the crowd, clapping and cheering her up. Aw, how sad. Her heart was teared apart once again, and she quickly prepared a guitar so she could start playing. She had been playing almost non-stop for several days by now. Sorry. While she was playing, her mind was busy thinking about scales, harmonies, melodies, and intricate solos, riffs and licks. They all came out naturally, but even so, there was still a minimum grade of mental compromise, a certain amount of focus required, and as long as she was focused on the music, she avoided to think about Lincoln. That's why she barely came out of the garage or her room. Why do I keep this to yours? Oh yeah, I had a quite busy day today, so yeah, forgive me for yawning. Yeah, okay, where are we at? The only places where she could play without being bothered by anyone. Every minute she spent without playing an instrument was a minute where she started to think. And every time her mind started to think, she pictured her brother, and she remembered that soon enough he would no longer be reading comic books in his room. He would be knocking on heaven's door. That is grim. That is very dark. She pressed the strings against the neck so hard that she could have broken it in two. She took a deep breath and tried to play anything. The first thing that came to her mind. Okay, I need to stop yawning. Gee, it's actually getting annoying now. I'm not even bored. It's just I've been cycling, so yeah. I come home to read, so yeah, that's why I'm yawning. But the first thing that came to her mind, she saw the garage floor and realised how dirty it was, and the song suddenly appeared. Her fingers started to dance around. Around it. I don't know why it says a wrong, but yeah, the frets in her voice accompanied the soft plucking. I look at the floor and I see it needs sweeping. Still my guitar gently weeps. Well, she hadn't even lasted 2 verses without ruining her mood. With trembling hands, she started to put aside her instruments and to unplug her amps. It was 5:10, a good time to have a snack, and then start to get ready for the night. She was still waiting Chunk's confirmation. Oh, I remember Chunk. But he told her that everything was practically arranged, and even if he didn't confirm anything to her, she wasn't going to stay home on a Friday night. No, she needed some relief, and she knew exactly where to go. She went into the kitchen and sneaked a piece inside the fridge where the entry door was opened. "Lynn!" yelled Lola. Right away, she and Lana approached the newcomer and surrounded her, firming questions after question at her. Luna closed the fridge and went to the entry hall. Lynn had her back against the door, trying to push the twins off. The headmaster and the teachers had tried to keep it a secret that Lynn had beaten the hell out of one of his classmates, and then ran off of school. So naturally, both middle and high school knew everything about it. Lynn looked away from her little sisters for a second and locked her eyes with Luna's. Just like the rest of the family, the older girl was deeply worried about what had happened, but she wasn't Lynn's mum, and she wasn't Lauren either, so she wasn't even going to lecture her or something. She just made a gesture, as if asking if everything was alright. Lynn dropped her eyelids and nodded, so slightly that the twins didn't even notice it. That was all that Luna cared about, that she was alright. And then she turned around and saw Lincoln. "Hey, bro." He was staring at Lynn from the stairs. Luna was getting used to seeing him so tired and fragile, but that didn't mean that it was easier or less painful to see him like that. He smiled at her anyway and waved a hand, while the other one was carrying several bags from the mall. "Hi, Luna," he said. She stepped closer and stopped right next to him. "How are you?" she asked. Great. A little tired, but otherwise well." "Oh, I see." She said. She had been about to ask him to come with her to the garage, to maybe sing along. "So, you've been with Lynn, huh?" she asked, the last thing almost in a whisper. Lately, a lot of things had to be said or done in silence in the loud house, especially if there was a young sibling around. Lincoln smiled, hesitated, and his gaze was lost in Lynn's once again. "Yeah, she needed me today," he simply said. Luna's fingers started to drum on her thighs, as an old pop song casually started to play in her mind. "And I need you now, tonight, and I need you more than ever. And if only you had held me tight, we'll be holding on forever." I think he forgot to put I forgot what it's called now. Oh yeah, quotations. Quotation marks. She shook her head, trying to clear her mind from that tune. "What's that, dude?" she suddenly asked, pointing a finger at the mall bags she was carrying. Went bloomin' shopping? Went bloody shopping? Proper British accent, that. "Oh, this," he said a little nervously, lifting the bag for a second and then hiding them behind his back. "It's nothing, just some stuff I needed." "Oh, yep, I see, right." Awkward silence. She used to chat with Lincoln every day, at least once a day. She would go to his room and simply ask him how he was doing. Up until last week, the two of them had been really close. They shared a lot of time together and they had a blast every time, but now it's like they'd run out of words. Like they couldn't improvise a conversation anymore. The problem, Luna believed, was that they both knew that behind their words hid a conversation that none of them wanted to have. An issue that was there, that they didn't want to touch, that they had to keep a secret. But that, at least for Luna, was getting harder and harder to conceal. "Well, I guess I'll just go to my room," she finally said, feeling like she wouldn't be able to draw some more words from him with a last smile, or at least a smile attempt. She turned around and started to climb the stairs. "Wait," he stopped her, grabbing her by the wrist when she walked past him. Luna turned around to see him. He seemed to be deciding what to say. He remained in silence, clearly looking for the right words. Finally, he sighed and looked her in the eyes. "Just, I love you, right?" he asked, although in an odd, resigned way, like he knew he'd made a dumb question. Luna felt warmth inside of her, like different notes getting in harmony to become a beautiful chord. With a big smile, she caressed her brother's hair and gently kissed his forehead. "I love you too, Lincoln. You're my wonder wall." "What's a wonder wall?" she said, before resuming her way to her room. As her steps drove her closer to her room away from Lincoln, her smile slowly started to fade. By the time she opened her bedroom door and closed it behind her, she was biting her lower lip to keep it from shaking so bad. She looked around her room and, thankful that Luann wasn't there, she felt like a balloon that kept being inflated. She was filled with emotions and sensations that she could no longer tolerate. She needed to release the pressure, to let those feelings abandon her, to expel that oppressive sensation on her chest. She needed to play something. She went straight to a keyboard. She turned it on, configured it so it sounded like a traditional piano, and she played the song that she had been avoiding from the very beginning of this tragedy. The song that had been on her mind since that damn Monday morning. She had suppressed it, but right then she needed it. As her fingers started to softly press the piano keys, she closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and sang, skipping the first verse and going straight to the chorus. Here comes goodbye. Goodbye, here comes the last... Okay, we don't really need to read this part. Okay, we'll read this. And she was about to let herself be dragged. Her room was empty. No one would see her. She was 2 seconds from letting go of all those tears she had been trying to conceal for these last few days, but the bedroom door was suddenly kicked open. Lola stormed into her older sister's room, violently shutting the door behind her. She was frowning and her lips were so pressed together that her mouth was only a thin line. She walked with her eyes fixed on the floor and went straight to the window, even glancing at Luna, which gave the rocker some time to put herself together and pretend that she wasn't about to cry. The little princess was stomping her way into the bedroom, like she was trying to kill a colony of cockroaches. You okay, sis? Asked Luna, hoping that her voice sounded normal. Lola didn't answer, she just stood next to the window, facing away from Luna. I'm gonna ask you something, and you will answer me with the truth, the girl slowly informed Luna, still looking through the window. Luna rolled her eyes. Her rock spirit made her a rebel by nature. She did whatever her parents told her because she didn't want to get grounded. And every once in a while, she heeded Laurie because she kind of respected her. But taking orders from Lola, that wasn't happening. What do you want? She saw Lola's gloves shriveling up around her fists because of how strong she was clenching them. She was waiting for the girl to have a little tantrum. A little show of rage that would probably end up in Lola throwing her tiara at her and demanding her apologising for something she didn't even do. Why do you all prefer Lana? Luna opened her eyes as much as her eyelids allowed after hearing that. She stared at Lola, whose whole body seemed to be shaking, but Luna now knew that it wasn't because she was angry or upset. Luna stood up from her keyboard stool and walked near her sis. What are you saying, dude? No one prefers Lana. Yes, you do, she yelled, still not looking at her. All of you, Lenny, Lynn, you, even Lincoln, you all like her better. Luna and Lola usually didn't spend much time together. They shared a lot of moments, obviously, just like the whole family, but her shared time wasn't that much compared with the time they spent with the rest of their siblings. Luna couldn't read Lola like she could read with the rest of her sisters. But she was the third oldest, and she had dealt with younger sisters' problems her whole life, so she had her methods. She grabbed her acoustic guitar and stepped closer to Lola. She put an arm around her and lifted her up in the air. Hey, what gives? I'm sorry, that's really annoying, but... well, she is kind of annoying sometimes. So, hey, it works, she asked, turning her face to stare at Luna, with a mixture of surprise and anger. Luna carried her to the beanbag in her room and let herself fell onto it, She sat Lola on her lap and put the guitar in front of the young princess, trapping her between her older sister and her instrument. Even if she was a little uncomfortable, Luna managed to start playing a soft melody. "Alright, little one," she softly said, "why don't you tell me what happened?" Lola continued to look at her a little angry for a couple of seconds. Then her face relaxed. She looked forward and made herself comfortable in Luna's lap, leaning against her. Lana and I were just fighting," she started, with the guitar melody as perfect, relaxing background music. The relationship between Lana and Lola had always been complicated. They loved each other and they played together every day, almost all the time, but they also fought a lot. This last week, though, they were fighting more often, harsher, and for the stupidest things. Luna wondered if the new atmosphere in the house wouldn't be affecting them somehow. "What were you fighting about now?" she asked. I don't know." "You don't know why you were fighting?"
"We were asking Lynn about what had happened because we overheard Mom and Dad talking about grounding her. And then Lana started to speak over me, and I told her to shut up, and she glared at me. And then we were both fighting on the floor."
"And what happened?"
"Lynn came between us and pulled us apart," she continued. "We argued a little more."
Oh shit, she continued. She didn't say that.
"And then Lincoln came closer and told us to stop fighting. He always said that, and then he always suggests something the three of us can do together, but this time he asked Lana to help him plant some stupid thing in the backyard."
"Are you serious?" Luna felt her sister shivering on her lap as the guitar strings continued to sound. "And just because of that you believe Lincoln likes Lana more than you?" she calmly asked.
"He obviously prefers her,"
said Lola.
"Why didn't he ask me to go too?"
"Well, gardening isn't really your thing, right?"
"So what?"
"If he's inviting Lana, he should invite me too. Why is he ignoring me?" "Well, let's be honest, if Lincoln did invite her, she would obviously decline. Obviously, in the show." "Lola, don't you think you're overreacting a little bit?"
"No!"
Lola yelled as she sharply turned around on Luna's lap, looking at her.
"No one ever wants to come to my tea parties. But you all help Lana with her mud piles. No one wants to drive my car while I practice my waving. But you're always helping Lana with whatever she wants to do."
Okay, this is getting a bit annoying now. The only one who always has time for me was Lincoln, but now he prefers her too.
Where?
Lola's delineated eyes started to twinkle as her eyelashes were moving rapidly to avoid crying. Luna now understood what was bothering her little sister. She put her guitar aside. "Lola," she said, putting her hands on Lola's cheeks, "Lincoln loves you just as much as he always did. He wasn't trading you for Lana or anything. That's absurd. None of us thinks that you're less fun or less likable than Lana." "Then why do you all prefer her?" "No one does. Do you really believe we all play in the mud with her every single time she asks us to?" "We seldom do, really. Actually, I'm pretty sure that we all go to more tea parties with you than mud wars with Lana."
"But when you're playing with me, you're always frowning. And when you're with Lana, you smile and you have fun,"
complained Lola. "Maybe that's because you force us to play with you," Luna replied. "You can't coerce us into everything you want to do. Lola, we end up doing it without really wanting to. If you waited for us to really want to play with you, then we would all end up having more fun." Lola kept staring at her for a few seconds and then looked down. She was about to cry. Luna mentally cursed herself. Laurie could surely calm Lola down. Even Lincoln would find a way to cheer her up. For example, right now, I'd love to attend a tea party, she said, determined to cheer her little sister. Lola didn't seem to be very enthusiastic about it.
You just want me to feel better,
she whispered. Yeah, it's true, Lola admitted before lifting her up as she stood up. But that doesn't mean we can't have a blast. Finally, Lola smiled and hugged Luna. They both left the room and went into the hall, heading to a tea party in Lola's bedroom. But as they were walking there, Lynn and Lucy's bedroom door was open, and a very angry Lynn walked out of it. Again, telling at her sister, "You better find my special baseball bat, you hear me, Lucy? Until then, I'm not staying in the same room as you. I'll be bunking with Lincoln." It's just like that episode. Lana couldn't be more happy. She didn't even remember having a fight with Lola. That was just everyday stuff. She couldn't worry about every single fight they had. She may have stayed upset for a while if it wasn't for Lincoln. He had asked her to help him plant a new tree in the backyard. That was awesome. She usually helped her dad with the gardening, and she planted some flowers in the past, but a tree, like a real tree, that was something new. She could already picture what a new tree in the backyard would look like. It was going to produce a big shadow, and that would attract a lot of bugs. And if a tree had some good branches, a nice foliage, then maybe some birds would build their nests there. And what if it ended up being like an apple tree? Then there would definitely be a lot more worms. Lincoln had a great idea. "So where do you want to plant it?" asked Lincoln, dragging along her special shovel. I don't know. I think I'd like it if you could see it from the kitchen and the rooms," he said with dreamy eyes. You mean she? Of course, so we could all see it from upstairs if it's available to play on it. I like the way you think, Lincoln. Yeah, that's what I meant. He sounded a little vague, like he was somewhat distracted, but Lana didn't blame him. Planting a tree was really exciting. She started to running around the backyard, looking for the best spot to plant it. Every time she found a nice spot, she stopped there and looked at the house. Okay. Lincoln over here, she called him, waving her arms with excitement. Lincoln walked over there with a smile. You like it here? She asked. I think it's perfect. Great, let me just start digging. She grabbed a little shovel and started to dig. She loved digging, to feel the wet earth on her fingers. She would have digged with her own hands, but this was the first time she'd ever planted a tree. So she wanted to do it right. As she was digging, Lincoln sat next to her. Lana, I bought this tree for all of you guys, Lincoln told her. For us, really? She asked, stopping her digging for a second to smile at him. But wait, not for you. Consider it as a gift, he said, not answering her question. I don't want it to replace our old tree, but I think this one's going to be taller and it'll give you more shadow. It may be a nicer place for you to sit down and relax when you're sad or upset. You think we could climb it? The other one doesn't have low branches, she commented, as she resumed her digging. I guess so. I don't know, really. Cool. Whoa, are those seeds? Yeah, it's box elder maple. It grows fast and it's easy to take care of. You just have to water it once a day, twice if it's really sunny. Lana took mental notes about those instructions. It was pretty easy just to water it once a day. She was in charge of over 17 pets, and she knew by heart all their specific feeding habits. She wouldn't have a problem taking care of that tree. She stretched her hand as if to grab the pods, but Lincoln stopped her. Hey, can I plant this one first? It's something special, he said, acting a little weird. Lana glanced at him a little confused. Why was he acting so strange? But then she realised this was the first time Lincoln planted a tree too, and that he would be probably as excited as she was. Who would have known? Lincoln liked gardening too, after all. Of course, Lincoln, do the honours, she said with a smile, stepping aside. Lincoln took his time to put the seeds in the hole. Then he gave Lana some seeds, and she threw them there too. They both took a step back as she filled the hole against her shovel. How long will it take to grow? She asked, highly interested, picturing herself playing on the new tree branches. It grows up pretty quick. In just a year, it can grow a little over 3 feet. 3 feet in a whole year, she complained. I thought it would be as high as the house in like a month. Lincoln chuckled. Lana, it'll need some time to grow, but then it will last many, many years. And that's why, he said, kneeling in front of her, I entrust you to take care of it as it grows. Me? Asked Lana, confused. Why me? Because I know how much you like trees, and I know you'll make an excellent job making sure that it grows strong and healthy. But won't you take care of it too? Well, you know how I am, said Lincoln, looking away from her eyes. I'm pretty careless sometimes, and maybe I won't have time to take care of it as it deserves. That's why I'd love it if you could do it for me. Lana felt confused. Lincoln was sometimes careless, yes, but he wasn't dumb. He could take care of a tree if he really wanted to. Besides, why would he buy a tree if he was going to give it to his sisters, and then he wouldn't take care of it? He was acting really weird. However, even if Lana didn't fully understand her brother, she was really happy. He was entrusting her with a mission. He was asking her to do it because he trusted her, and he was sure that she would do an excellent job. Alright, I'll take care of it, and I'll probably make sure that it's the biggest, tallest and best tree in the whole city, she said, opening her arms wide to emphasize her words. It'll be so tall, we will see it from our school. Of course it will, Lincoln assured her. And you know what? When it gets tall and strong enough, maybe we can build a tree house there. You would help me, and it would be ours. Yours and mine. So we can go there and play, and you can read your comics. Lincoln put a hand on her red cap and playfully shook it a little, making her laugh. I like that you're always thinking that enthusiastically, he said with a smile. Never lose all that energy and optimism you have. Why are you talking like Dad? Why when he gives us those boring speeches? She asked. You're right, I guess I'm sounding like Dad, he simply said, before standing up. Alright, it was fun to plant a tree with you. Do you happen to know where Luann is? I need her help with a little video project. She was in the attic looking for some prank stuff, Lana said, grabbing her shovel and cleaning it on her overalls. I'll put some stakes around it so Charles and Cliff don't step on it. Perfect, added Lana. Lincoln grabbed her from the armpits and lifted her high enough to give her a little kiss on her cheeks. Thank you. You're welcome, Lincoln, she said, giggling and wiping her cheeks with her hands. Lincoln went inside the house, leaving Lana alone in the backyard. After making sure that her shovel was clean, she went to the garage, where she was hoping to find some woods to make sort of fence around the newly planted trees. As she was walking past the garage, she gently touched the cheek where Lincoln had just kissed her. He was the best big brother in the world. Finally, at 7:30, Lincoln received the message she had been waiting for, from Chunk. Already love get? Chloe, ready you drive us wild. We'll drive you crazy. Okay. Lincoln had knitted those fringes. Then she grabbed a guitar case with enough space for all the accessories she needed, and she started to get all the things she needed. She picked up the cables, her picks, some spare strings, and of course Chloe. Chloe was the name of her favourite electric guitar, a beautiful style guitar, all purple with 3 pickups and pilled frets. It wasn't her first guitar, that was resting in pieces under Lincoln's bed. Oh yeah, okay. Hand-me-downs, okay. But it was all her time best. Her favourite guitar, the one she took everywhere, the one that had never failed her. She had a special bond with Chloe. It was her most precious possession, a symbol of her bond with rock. She loved it like it was a living thing, like a pet. She carefully put it inside her case. She then grabbed it, made sure to have some money on her wallet, and she left her room. She walked downstairs and into the kitchen, where both her parents were already getting everything ready for dinner. Mum, Dad, she called them. They turned around and quickly realised she was wearing a jacket and had her guitar case with her. "Luna, are you going somewhere?" asked Mr. Loud. "I'll be playing at the Railway Tavern," she firmly said. She didn't ask for permission, she just informed them her plans. Her mother looked at the kitchen clock. They usually let her go there to play the guitar in front of an audience, but that was almost always during the day. They seldom let her go out at night. "Okay. Luna, don't you think it's a little late? We'll already get ready for supper," her mother said. "Please, it's Friday, I need to go out," she pleaded with begging eyes. The parents exchanged a look. "I don't know, honey," said Lindsay. "I don't know, honey," screeching his head. "We know you can take care of yourself, but it's different now with all that is happening." "I know, but that's exactly why I need to go." They didn't seem to be convinced at all, but they sighed and dropped their shoulders, feeling defeated. "Luna, listen to me," her father said. "We're all affected, terribly affected, and when we feel this way, we sometimes look for solace in the wrong places with the wrong people." "Dad, I know you're a big girl, but just promise me you won't do anything stupid." He interrupted her, "and that you'll be home before midnight." Luna smiled and kissed them goodbye. "I promise you guys, see ya." She left the house, and once she was out, she uncrossed her fingers. She started to run to the nearest bus stop. She would have looked behind, but she didn't want to. She knew that there was people there who loved her and who were worried about her, and she felt very bad for being about to let them down. Railway Tavern was the name of the most famous English pub in Michigan. A disgusting 90 square kilometre metre, sorry, not kilometre. That would be big. Old pub with its... Why do I keep getting snot like up my nose and down my throat? Old pub with its hard wood floor, a constant smell of cigarette, all kinds of paraphernalia about the United Kingdom and the Tottenham Hotspur FC, and a clientele that consisted of old Englishmen who gathered around for some drinks and to discuss everything wrong with Manchester. Oh wow, Manchester. Why Manchester specifically? Why not London or Birmingham? And young boys and girls who loved me. Oh, because it's music and Manchester's home to music. Right. Who loved music and had that place as a sanctuary. I don't know if it's the Beatles who came from Manchester. I don't know, but I know some famous singers who did come from Manchester. So Luna loved it. It was her second home. Ever since her first guitar teacher told her that he sometimes played there, Luna had experimented a fascination with the little stage that the pub offered. I thought she went to that coffee shop. I think it is. The Moon Goats. To be fair though, that's like in future seasons, so I know this is like set early on, like season 1, I think. But anyway, She had her first concert ever when she was just 13 years old. It had been on a Sunday afternoon, and her father was there too. She had been extremely nervous, so nervous in fact that she broke one of her strings barely 5 minutes after she started. She hadn't had any spare strings with her, so she was about to leave the stage when one of the boys working behind the bar let her borrow his own guitar. "You were blinding out there, mate," said the boy. He was a burly boy who seemed to be many years older than his actual 17-year-old. "But you look tense, kid. Rock and roll bout having fun. So don't worry, just go and have fun, will ya? Thank you, Chunk. Why do I keep saying chunk? It's Chunk," answered him, raising her purple newsboy cap to salute her. "The name's Chunk." Luna went back on the stage with a borrowed guitar, and she played for almost an hour without stopping. The people went crazy, cheering her and applauding every one of her solos. But no one was yelling louder than Mr. Loud, who was actually standing on her table, dancing at her daughter's rhythm. Since then, Luna not only had become one of the little celebrities in the pub, the genius girl who could make you feel rousing with an instrument, she had also gotten into the local music radar. Everyone who loved music went into the Railway Tavern, and many doors had been opened. Many doors had been opened, is what it should say. To her thanks to that, she had met Chunk, who would become one of her best friends despite him being 4 years older. Wait, Chunk's only 4 years older? Oh, I thought he was in his 30s, to be honest. Oof. She found her first boyfriend there, and she had even had conversations with some producers of local labels. The Railway Tavern had changed her life just as much as the Mick Swagger concert. It was a place she had always related with good moments, with music, a place where she felt. That night she went there looking for some of that. She opened the door and was received by Bob Plant's voice as the background music. Wait, we don't need to read this part. As she was getting closer to the bar in Chunk, some people started to greet her. They were mostly the regular clientels who knew her from all these years. They were all giving her smiles and occasionally joked that she was too young to be in a pub so late in the night. She was no stranger to alcohol. She'd taken some drinks with her friends. Relatable. I mean, not relatable, sorry. And even with Laurie, but she'd never gotten drunk or anything. She laughed at the jokes people made, but a little voice inside her kept telling her that she will still in time to listen to them and walk away. She was about to reach the bar when a sharp voice called her. "Luna!" Before she could even turn around, an 11-year-old girl was hugging her. She wasn't really tall. No shit, she's 11. But her gallop up hair almost reached Luna's chin, giving her a perfect view of those purple highlights. "I was waiting for you," said the girl, pulling away from Luna and looking at her with excited eyes. Sorry. Got something in my throat. Luna smiled. She knew that kid had her as her idol and loved her like she was her older sister. She had enough with 9 sisters already, but she really liked that girl too. "What's up, Tabby? How are those riffs coming?" she asked, putting her fist in the air so Tabby could bump it. Is Tabby a canon character? I don't think so. I don't think we ever see her in this show. Great, listen, I came up with this riff, so that's totally sick. I had to wrote it down as soon as I played it because it was so awesome. You gotta listen to it. I'd love to, Tabby. Just call me up and we have a jam session. You'll see, it sounds amazing. It'll make you feel some sweet emotions. After saying that, she took a hand to her mouth and covered her giggling. You see what I did there? Sweet emotion. That's a song by Aerosmith. Oh my god. Sorry, I ate something not long ago. Yeah, turns out I actually stopped recording this for like a certain amount of time to go eat. So, yeah. Toys in the Attic, 1975, confirmed Luna. This is annoying. Exactly, see, I'm speaking with lyrics too. I wouldn't expect less from Royal Wood's future rock star, she said, winking at her. But what are you doing here this late? I found out that you were going to be playing here, so I asked my brother to come with him for tonight. He didn't want it at first, but he knows how much I love to hear you on the stage, so he brought me. Cool. When she looked up, Luna saw Chunk behind the bar preparing some drinks for a client. Oh my. She was about to say goodbye to Tabby, but she spoke first. So how's Lincoln doing? Oh, that's where my balls dropped. There it was. Oh my gosh. Alright, I'm back. There it was, that voice inside her chest. The sensation that someone was stabbing her with a cold blade. Sorry? She asked, pretending she hadn't heard her so she could have a few extra seconds. But what for? To pull her together? To pretend that there was nothing wrong? She couldn't do that. Your brother Lincoln. You know, at first I was kind of mad at him for what he did at the Sadie Hawkins dance, but when you told me what had happened, I realised it hadn't been entirely his fault. I actually had a great time with him. You say that sometimes he helps you with practice, right? Do you think the three of us could maybe have a jam sometime? Luna's face wasn't showing what was really going on inside of her. It showed a somewhat forced smile, yes, but not even the best detective in the world could figure out the amount of pain she was feeling inside. No one could have known the chills that had settled on her spine, or how weak her legs suddenly became. They couldn't get inside her mind, and see the images she was picturing like a movie frame stopped in time. It showed her playing her guitar alone in the garage. Why do you spell garage like that? But with no audience. There was only an empty stool, and it would be empty for the rest of her life. Yeah, right, we'll see about that, okay? I'll tell Chunk I'm ready. And without waiting for an answer, she dashed away. Oh, good luck then, she heard Tabby say over the muttering and the beautiful guitar that was playing a song about a lady buying a stairway to heaven. She quickly got to the bar and stood in front of her friend, Chunk. He turned around and smiled at her. Evening, love, he said. Oi, why so stubborn about playing tonight? You know it ain't easy to convince my gaffer to let me take a break to jam on the stage. Not on Fridays, at least. Sorry. Well, I would have stepped onto stage without you guys anyway, but it's not the same without drums. So grab your drumsticks and get your fat ass on the stage. Oh, damn, she said, a little impatient to take out Chloe and let the music do the talking. She wanted to be carried away from the bar, far away from that city, away from that empty stool in the garage. I don't think Royal Woods was a city. I like your energy, old Larry, he said, calling the other bartender. It's showtime, I'll be right back. Larry, okay. You didn't answer me though. Why the rush to play tonight? He asked Luna while checking if the floor Tom's tuning. She was configuring the amp so she could have the sound she was looking for. She could have done it without looking, but she decided to pretend that she was deeply focused on it. Because I need it, she finally said, standing up and putting Chloe's strap over her left shoulder. When Chunk finished preparing his drums, Luna stepped closer to the microphone. Most of the clientele had already adjusted their seats so they could see the stage better. Luna stood there and stared at the pub. The manager turned off the background music and turned on the stage lights. This new light seemed to surround her, partially hiding everything else. The people had become more silhouettes, and the pub seemed like a faraway place. Luna didn't dare say anything. She enjoyed that sensation, that feeling of being in a different place. It was like a dreamlike... It was a dreamlike image. A surreal spectacle. She took a deep breath and tried to focus. She was there to give them a show. Luna grabbed the mic in her mouth because became a giant smile. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. Good evening, Railway Tarbin, she enthusiastically shouted, turning on her guitar and playing a blistering scale that started the first wave of applause. I'm Luna Loud, and tonight my roadie Chunk and I will be playing our souls out for you all. Are you ready to rock? Everyone in the pub raised their glasses and shouted in conformity. Stand up and be counted for what you are all about to receive, said Luna. Chunk, let's start with International U Day. Chunk spinned his drumsticks on his hand and a few times and then started to play the intro of the song Luna had just told him. She wasted no time and soon enough started to play the classic powder chord that defined the song. That little piece of art, one of the punk rock anthems, quickly won the approval of audience. It wasn't a British song, but they enjoyed good music, and with Luna Loud playing, they had guaranteed quality. The moment her guitar and Chunk's drums got in tune, Luna felt a cosmic energy grabbing her by the hand and carrying her away from there. There was nothing in the world but herself and her music. She closed her eyes, let the rhythm flow through her, and she started to sing. Okay, we don't... The people in the pub were excited. They yelled, they clapped, and they made them feel their total support. They loved Chunk's double pedal and both Luna's powder chords, and a perfect imitation of Tony Shy's legendary voice style. She had picked that song because she knew people would like it, and with great punk rock songs, but as she kept singing, she wondered whether it had really been a random choice or not. We don't really need to sing the lyrics, but when she got the chorus, she finally realised why she had picked that song. She was about to lose her rhythm and timing because of the surprise, but she managed to pick up and go on without any trouble. She kept singing, and every new verse made it clearer for her that she hadn't picked up that song by accident. The subconscious could be a jerk when it really wanted to. After she went through the chorus, a random memory came to her mind. It was about Lincoln, 2 years ago, crying in his bed because he had spilled all his juice all over his latest comic, completely ruining it before he read it. And then Luna opened his bedroom door and got inside. It wasn't a fresh memory. She didn't remember what words she had given him. She didn't remember what he had told her back. The only thing she remembered was hugging him, singing him a song, and then going to the mall with him to buy him a new comic book and ice cream. It was sad to think that there was a time where only by singing a song and spending $10 she could solve his problems. Yeah. Wait, what? Okay, yeah. She opened her eyes, and for the first thing she saw was Tabby, jumping next to the stage at the guitar riff, waving her arms and singing along. She was so happy, so full of energy, so ignorant. She didn't know what was going on. No one did. If they knew, they wouldn't be so happy and excited. They wouldn't be singing those lyrics so amused. If they knew what was going on, they would be singing them like she did, from her heart, feeling her soul ripping apart with every new line in the final chord. She let the last chord slowly fade away. For a second, the vibrating stings were the only sound that could be heard, and then it came to the applause. Tabby was rapt. She was screaming like a girl in an amusement park, telling Luna that she was the best one ever. Luna felt like she was in a dream once again, but this time it wasn't because of the lights and the sensation of feeling like she was somewhere else. She felt like she was in a dream because it felt like she was watching a first-person movie. She felt like she was getting goosebumps everywhere in her body. She was barely conscious that she pressed down the pedal so her guitar made a clean sound without distortion. Trying to imitate the sound of an acoustic guitar. She almost didn't notice when she told Chuck, who's Chuck, she wouldn't be playing Gone Too Soon. Neither. She just knew that the chords came out of nowhere, playing slowly every single note, trying to sound as clean as possible. And her voice was filled with so much feelings that those words weren't paying much attention, until they suddenly turned around to see her. "Hey there now, where'd you go? You left me here, so unexpected." "Oh, shit, no, that's a song." She looked back to give Chunk the signal and slowly made his way into the song, and she saw that he was staring at her with his eyes half closed. Of course, he was starting to suspect. It wasn't normal that Luna started playing a ballad unless a couple from a crowd asked her to. It wasn't normal for her to sing with so much feeling. It wasn't normal that her knees seemed to be shaking. She looked forward once again and kept playing and singing. Usually when she was on stage, there was nothing on her mind other than music, the beat and the melody that night. However, her mind seemed to be trying to keep her occupied, remembering scenes from the past. This time, the memory was very clear. It had been one last summer. Luke, a boy she had met in a concert, and that had become her third boyfriend, had dumped her. The excuse was their relationship wasn't going anywhere, and that he didn't want to be with her if he wasn't really into it. Into what? Because that would end up hurting her. Of course, only 2 days later, Luna saw those pics of Luke kissing a girl from her school. She was now remembering the afternoon she found out about it. She remembered getting home barely holding back her tears. She went straight to the garage and played her guitar with so much anger that she broke 2 strings in the same solo. She remembered that after unplugging everything, she sat on the floor and started to cry, while her siblings gathered around her to comfort her, already knowing the news. "I don't know why I'm surprised," she had told him, wiping her tears. "I should have known he was only changing me for another one. It's always like that. Guys only care about you while you're still a novelty. When they finally got you hooked, they get bored, and they look for another stupid girl to play with. It's always like that. They're all the same." This could technically explain, or at least partially explain, why what's her name? Luna likes Sam. This could technically explain it, even though it's not canon, but it makes sense. The older girls were silently nodding, while the younger ones simply stared at her, a little confused. Then someone spoke. "That's not true." Luna looked up, and her sister stepped away to let Lincoln get close. He kneeled before her, looked her in the eye. "There are a bunch of jerks. Luke's not the first, but he won't be the last boy who acts like an idiot and ends up hurting someone. But you can't put everyone in the same bag. You'll find someone who's worth it." You know, if you guys saw my video that I made on Friday, the one on misandrists, this is exactly why misandrists exist, because they had bad experiences with boys, right? And then assume that every boy is like that, So, yeah. Thank goodness Lincoln was there to tell Luna the truth about, guys. There are some toxic ones, but there are some non-toxic ones. But yeah, anyway. Wait. You'll find someone who's worth it. Someone who can realise that once they have you, they don't need anyone or anything else. They all let out a big "aww," and Luna hugged him and squeezed him against her, gently stroking his hair. You know what, bro? You're right. I can't say that all boys are the same. And that they're all idiots. How could I believe that having you as my brother? The scene continued for a little longer, but she shook her head to push it away. So many emotions were starting to affect her. She tried to stop thinking in the song, and for a moment she kind of messed up the lyrics, but she recovered just in time for the final. The song went on repeating for the last phrase several times, with energy, with so much feelings. Luna's voice was firm, it didn't shake, and it didn't waver. She tried to pretend that everything was alright, that she wasn't just singing a song, nothing more. Right. It was obvious, though, that the song had affected her in one way or another. For the first time in years, Luna was shaking on the stage. She looked like a scared child. In an instinctive act, she looked at the bottom right tables, where his father had sat on her first concert. She was almost expecting to see Hi there giving her a thumbs up and letting her know that it was all okay. But he wasn't there. There was no thumbs up and nothing was okay. That song, that bloody ballad, had taken her away from her problems. Oh, it hadn't taken her away from her problems. Like she was expecting it to. It had reminded her of them in the most painful way possible. Lincoln was really leaving them all too soon. He was going away to shine on a different place. While she was there, standing on a pub stage, playing to a bunch of random kids. He was in their house 20 minutes from there. What was he thinking? How was he feeling? Was he still alive? What if she got home and Lincoln's body hadn't made it? What if she had missed her last chance of saying goodbye? Her arms dropped. Chloe. Yeah, her arms dropped Chloe, and it wouldn't have hit the ground if it wasn't for the strap her chest was hurting her with every breathing, with every mouthful of air coming into her lungs. She barely registered that the people on the bar started to mutter about her, or Tabby's worried look, or that Chunk was about to stand up and see if she was okay. Well, she wasn't. Music had failed her. It wasn't making her feel better. It wasn't helping her forget. On the contrary, it was making her feel all the pain she had been trying to conceal for a week. All the pain she had buried inside of her, and that now was threatening to erupt like a volcano. Her soul was out of tune. It was 3 octaves down. She knew everything was wrong, that the melody was lost, and the worst thing was that there was no turner to adjust. There wasn't any kind of tuning fork that could help her find the harmony once again. Once Lincoln died, the music would be lost forever. She felt a single tear leave her left eye. Probably nobody in the pub noticed it. They were all waiting for Luna Loud, legendary 15-year-old Royal Woods rock star, to give them a show. They were expectantly waiting for her, a little confused by her attitude. They wanted music, they wanted rhythm, they wanted energy. Luna smiled, almost ironically. One more night. One last night, a final concert. She could do that. You, she suddenly said at the mic, pointing at a man that was sitting at closest table. Pass me a beer. The man smiled. He took a can and passed it to Luna. She catched it, opened it, and started to drink it on the spot. The beer tasted awful, and it made her throat burn. Really? I don't know if beer makes your throat burn. I will agree it tastes shit, but like, I don't know, it doesn't really burn my throat. It just feels off. But, you know, it is what it is. But at the same time, she felt a warm sensation inside. She knew that that it all had to be psychological, that the beer couldn't be acting so fast. But it was like suddenly she had no more inhibitions, no more doubts. "Hey, that girl's just a kid, she can't drink beer." "For real," said a man at the end of the pub. "Fuck you, Bob," said Luna. Phew. Showing him the middle finger and earning a new round of applause. "Alright guys, let's wrap it up for a high note. Let's close with a Guernica." "Guernica? Really?" asked Chunk, staring at her a little confused and worried. "Absolutely. For those about rock," she said. "Ain't no way she's drunk already." Pressing down, like literally just in a few seconds, she's just drunk. She said, pressing down her pedal again, so Chloe was now playing with distortion. Chunk and her started to play. The song wasn't as strong as International U-Day, but it was clearly stronger than Gone Too Soon. It wasn't a classic by all means. Tabby, for example, was moving her head at the rhythm of the drums, but she looked confused, wondering what kind of song it was. When Luna started to sing, no one sang along. Ever since I was... Okay, you know. This time there was no doubt about why she had chosen that song. She thought about a dozen songs that she might have chosen, but Guernica was the one that presented the less risk of making her cry on the stage. Before all that people, she didn't want to be seen so vulnerable. She didn't want to cry in front of anyone. She just wanted them to see her rocking. The Luna Loud they all knew, the one she thought she was. Maybe because of the alcohol, or maybe because this time she actively tried to just focus on the lyrics and the chords, or maybe simple because she was resonated. But during that song, she managed to get away from it all. No memory came to her this time. No image of Lincoln. Nobody plans to be half a word away at times like these. So I sat alone and waited out the night. The best part of what was happened was the part I must have missed. So I'm asking you to I submit no Okay, no. For 10 glorious minutes, Luna captivated the audience. She sang like she never did, taking her singing to a whole new level, making sure that every single word that came out of her mouth felt real. She screamed when she needed to scream. She whispered when she was supposed to. She only took some liberty when it came to the guitar. She lengthened every break. She added solos where they wasn't already. She improvised random licks. Chunk managed to follow her, led on this song. That went from its original 3.5 minutes to 10 minutes display of energy and passion like the world had never seen before. People loved her. They were all screaming her name. Many of them even forgot to keep their British accent. When she finally stopped playing, Luna pondered all the possibility of ending the night with a stage dive or maybe a little crowd surf. She was about to do it, but she decided not to. She really wanted to just go away. Usually, she didn't play 3 songs only, but that night was different. "Good night, Railway Tavern," she shouted, playing one last chord and letting the sound fade until it was gone. Lights went off and Luna stood there, staring at the nothingness with her guitar hanging from the strap. "Luna, you alright?" asked Chunk, getting closer. "I'm okay, Chunk." "You sure, love? Those songs." "I said I'm okay," she yelled, unplugging the guitar, quickly walking out. Not wanting to face Tabby, she didn't have the strength to talk with her right now. She went straight to the smoke section outdoors. The pub had a small space outdoors that was supposedly where people should go to have a cigarette, but they all smoked inside anyway. Luna didn't smoke, thank goodness, but there was no one that could bother her there. "You were sick up there." "Yeah." She turned around and saw a bot that was about Laurie's age, staring at her with a smile and a bottle of beer in his hand. "Thanks," she simply said, continuing to look at the boy. She'd seen him a couple of times, she knew that, but this was the first time she had ever noticed how attractive he was. He wasn't huge, but there was something about him. That old leather jacket, those tight pants, his kind of long and dishevelled hair. "You want some?" he asked, offering his bottle. Luna thought about it for a second. "Do you have an unopened bottle?" she asked with a smug smile. He laughed. "What? Are you afraid I put something on it?" "A girl can't be too cautious nowadays," she said softly, stepping closer. "Nothing personal, love." "Don't worry, I think I have 6-pack in my car," he said. The beer was starting to affect her, but even in her actual state, her father's voice made its way into her mind. When we feel this way, we sometimes look for solace in the wrong places, with the wrong people. He was right. She knew he was right. She knew what she was supposed to do. But she felt terrible. She felt like nothing made sense anymore. She had gone to that bar believing that her music was going to help her forget her problems, at least for one night. Well, music had failed her, but maybe that boy could help. "And where's your car?" she asked, smiling and waving her eyelashes, in a way that was more common for Lenny or Lola than her. "We're here." Matt stopped at the address Luna had given him. She was sitting on the passenger seat with her eyes closed, about to fall asleep. He gently shook her. "What?" she asked, disorientated. "Your house. We're here," Matt repeated. "Oh, thanks, love." She took her seatbelt off and stepped out of the car. She almost tripped with the curb, but managed to stay on her feet, laughing at her own clumsiness. She opened the back door and grabbed a guitar, with Chloe inside. "Listen, do you have any plans for next Friday?" asked Matt, trying not to sound too interested in her answer. Luna closed the back door and looked at him through the window. "Dream on, dude," she said, before smiling and blowing a kiss at him. He smiled too. He turned on his car and drove down the street, leaving Luna alone in the sidewalk. She had no idea what time it was. She didn't know if there would be someone awake. Probably not. The only thing she was sure of was that she was in serious trouble. Or actually she could be, if they caught her. Maybe she would be lucky enough to reach her bedroom without anyone finding out. Trying to make as little noise as possible, she got to the entry door. She suddenly realised that their door had these 3 little strips of glass, like little windows on a door. She found that idea extremely hilarious. She took her key and tried for 2 whole minutes to put it in the door lock. Why was it so hard? She finally made it. Carefully she stepped inside the house. It was all dark. It was all silent. Perfect. She closed the door behind her and turned around. She tiptoed until she reached the stairs. "You're so lucky I'm the first one who finds you." Luna cursed in a whisper. She was doomed. She sighed and smiled at Laurie, who was sitting on the couch without any lights on. "Hey, soul sister," she greeted her, trying to sound casual. "Cut the crap. It's way past 2 in the morning, Luna," Laurie severely said. Luna sighed again. "Did you stay awake just so you could be here to lecture me now?" she asked her. "You know how to always spoil the fun, don't you?" "For your information," said Laurie, standing up and approaching the little sister, "I came here because I can't fall asleep. I didn't even remember that you were out." Luna said nothing. She tried to go upstairs, but Laurie stopped her. "Luna, you smell of alcohol." "Alcohol," and she sniffed around her, and her nose wrinkled with disgust. "Luna, what the hell?" She released herself from Laurie's grip and started to walk to her room. "Luna, your skirt's backwards. Who was that guy?" "I don't know. Matt, I didn't catch what he said." Are you literally telling me that you had no idea who brought you home in his car? What the hell were you thinking? Nothing, that was the bloody point, she said, stopping in the middle of the hall, turning around to face her sister. I didn't want to think, don't you get it? Well, you did an excellent job. Do you have any idea how reckless and dangerous was what you just did? Oh, I'm sorry, Laurie, but not all of us have your luck, sis. And what was that supposed to mean? Asked Laurie, squinting her eyes. I mean, the rest of us don't have a boyfriend, so we can go to his house and be all day long there getting some comfort. The rest of us have to go and pick up a guy if we want a good fuck to forget our problems. She heard about 7 gasps. Her vision was blurred and she was too focused on Laurie to see it, but she knew all the siblings were eavesdropping on the discussion, maybe even poking their heads out. Had she woken up their argument with Laurie? Her argument, sorry. Laurie was taken aback. At first, she didn't say anything. When she did talk back, she did it much more calmly. She still had a clear mind, so she knew that their conversation was no longer private, and she was trying to keep it down. Luna, I'm telling you this because I'm worried about you. You shouldn't do the things you did. It's dangerous. I got news for you. You're not my mother, and I'm not a child. You sure act like one. Fuck you. Luna! New gasps. This time the door at the end of the hall opened. I knew this was going to happen sooner or later, said Laurie, shaking her head. I knew your stupid obsession with rock and roll would take you this way. Stupid obsession, what are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. All your idols preach about getting drunk, getting high, and having careless sex. I know you think you should do it too. Luna clenched her fist. She didn't remember ever being this angry at home. That's a lie. That's bullshit, and you know it. You know very well why I'm feeling like this, she said, clearly pointing at Lincoln's room. You know perfectly well that this has nothing to do with rock or music. Of course it does, Laurie snapped back, looking at her with anger and disgust. It's all about music with you. It's all that matters to you. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her older sister, the one who supposedly knew them better, telling her that she only cared about music. How could she say that? How could she even suggest that? If music was all that ever mattered to her, she wouldn't have left the pub. She wouldn't have played only 3 songs. If music was all that mattered, she wouldn't be feeling this empty inside. For a week now. Really? So that's what you think? You think I only care for music? She slowly asked, opening her case and grabbing Chloe. Silent tear left the corner of her eye, falling down her cheek. Oh, tear. Why did I say tear? I don't know. Do you really think that's all that matters to me? Laurie suddenly came out of a rage trace and realised what she'd said. No, wait, I didn't mean, she didn't say, she said, staring at the floor. You know I didn't mean it. Why do I keep saying Lulu? Luna kept staring at her. She then looked at her side. Lucy and the twins were poking their heads out of their bedrooms. Lisa was also seeing it all with interest. They were all watching her, and Luna knew that. Deep down, they all believed that about her. They all thought that she was only defined by music. That music was all that mattered for her. She looked at Chloe, purple, polished, shining, with a new set of strings and his beautiful pearled frets. And then she looked over Laurie's shoulder. At the end of the hall, that door was open. 2 of her siblings were standing inside. Lynn at the back, looking confused, and before her, Lincoln, her brother, staring at her with tired eyes and a worried look. He seemed to understand what she was going to do before anyone else. And he tried to slowly tell her not to do it, but Luna couldn't allow her whole family to think of her like this. Yes, you meant it, she told Laurie. She looked at Chloe once again, her favourite guitar. Then she grabbed it by the neck, raised it over her head with one quick motion. She smashed it against the floor. All siblings jumped in their place, and some of them let out a cry of surprise. Only one smash was enough to break the neck in the two parts and dislodge it from the body, which was also broken in two near the bridge and the pickups. The broken strings jumped everywhere, scratching her arms. She ended up holding a piece of chipped wood that was once part of the neck of her favourite guitar. She softly threw it next to Laurie's feet, who was staring at her in disbelief. The noise coming from downstairs meant that her parents were awake now, probably because of the sound of the guitar smashing against the floor. But Luna didn't care. She took a step forward, stopping inches away from a startled Laurie. She then put her hand in such a way that Laurie's own body shielded it from their younger sister's sight, pointing right at Lincoln's direction. Nothing else matters, she snapped through her gritted teeth, before turning around and heading to her room. She walked past Luann and threw herself in her bed without even changing her clothes. The noise from the hall muffled the sounds of her cries. Yeah, okay. Well, this was a very, very interesting chapter. Like, I didn't really get bored reading this. The only problem I have is it's very time consuming. See, like, believe it or not, I am actually quite busy on Sundays sometimes. So, you know, reading like a nearly 2 hour long fanfic, well, chapter, I should say, you know, is very time consuming. It takes a lot of time out of my day to read this. But yeah, overall I enjoyed this. This was definitely one of the most interesting chapters. I don't know about the most, but I think looking into Luna was a good idea, was interesting. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, well, I'm glad you did, and you're free to subscribe, but of course you don't have to. My name's Churlo. Peace.